Hey everybody, it's your boy, Baseman Awakens, checking in with you for the latest video on the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel. Before I get started, I just want to thank everyone for checking in, watching, commenting, likes, even dislikes, just for the engagement. And just a little house cleaning. I typically will be posting my videos, the new videos, every Sunday. So all you have to do is check in on Sunday and the new video will be posted. If there's any specific topic that you guys want me to talk about or to go into more detail about, just leave it in the comments and I'll definitely address it. Now, getting into the video, today's topic, what I'm going to be talking about is Black people or Black America and SHTF Part 2 explained. Yes, I'm bouncing back on this topic. Why? Because this video, out of all the videos I've posted so far, has gotten the most views and the most engagements. Specifically, I've gotten comments from a number of different people with their feedback on the original Black America at SHTF. Specifically from Black people who had negative comments in terms of my thoughts and my overall conclusion. And I'm doing this second video to address what they've talked about and to explain myself a little bit more detail. All right, so I'm going to give you guys the background. For those of you who did not watch the first video, and you should have watched it if you're listening to this one, I talked about my thoughts and my conclusions about a Black America when it comes to a SHTF situation, whether that be an economic collapse, an EMP strike that knocks out our electrical grid, earthquake, tsunami, whatever. But that situation would produce a societal level, which means all across the country, a societal level breakdown. And my personal belief, backed up by the facts that I talked about in the video, leads me to believe that Black people would not survive a long-term SHTF situation. Why? I'll just go through a short rundown. Black people, we live in urban areas, and in urban areas, all the food, water, everything has to be transported in. We have no economic base, which means the grocery stores that we shop at, the hardware stores that we shop at, the gun stores, whatever else are controlled by other racial groups. And most importantly out of all of this, and I think it plays into what I just talked about before, is that we have no sense of community. The Black family is destroyed. In most places, up to 80% of Black kids are raised in a single parent household, which means if you have no sense of community before a problem starts, it's going to be kind of hard getting your stuff together actually when it starts to happen. But the funny thing is, I talked about this and I connected it all together through the example of Hurricane Katrina and how badly Black people fared overall. We were the majority of the deaths in Hurricane Katrina. And that was because of the things that I talked about, and also the government response, and then the latent racism of many of those white people within that area also came out and made the situation even worse. Now, going into the comments that I received from Black people, it was amazing to me that all of them kept on saying, well, we're just going to come together. I don't believe this. We're just going to come together. And I'm like, it's not going to be that simple. And I think this speaks to one of the biggest issues within the Black community, is that our sense of emotionalism. And don't get me wrong, like Black people, particularly in this country, we've been through a lot of traumatic experiences as a people. So I can understand to a certain extent where that emotionalism is coming from. But when it comes to looking at a SHTF situation, you should not look at it from an emotional perspective. Black people are not magically going to come together. And let me explain why. Right? Think about it from this perspective, using the death of the Black family as an example. If Black men and Black women cannot come together and form a household to raise their biological children together, the children they created together, what makes you think that Black people or strangers is going to come together to basically build and defend their community in a SHTF situation? That's what I'm talking about. Like, there was one comment who was talking about, and I was pointing out to him, like, yo, Black people, we don't control anything. Well, we don't, and his response was, well, we don't need to control anything. We can go and, go hunting and get water. And I'm like, well, most black people don't own guns. Well, where I live, black people own guns. And I'm like, well, I cut the conversation short, but I'm like thinking about this logically, right? Going back to what my mentor, Neely Fuller Jr., check out the channel's description if you want to know more about this man's work, because this man is powerful in terms of what he talks about the use of logic. Logic is what people need to utilize. And thinking about this argument logically, what this man was saying was nonsense. No, we're not just the black people who do own guns. Let's be real. We use them against each other. And that's not going to stop in an SHTF situation. Yes, there are lakes. Yes, there are sources of food. But the people who control that, who are not black, are not going to let us have access to it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying this to be negative and say I want black people to fail and not survive. No, I'm a black man. Of course I want to see black people succeed. But I'm thinking about this from a logical, not an emotional perspective. And I think that that is the thing that we keep missing as a group of people. Emotionalism is not going to help us. If there's an SHTF situation, the government's not going to come to help. Why? Because the government's made up of people. And just like in Hurricane Katrina, when that hurricane hit, the police, the firefighter, and the EMS people were nowhere to be found. You want to know why? Because they were people who left their jobs to go and look after their family, regardless of their skin color. And that's what's going to happen in any SHTF situation. Another commenter talked about the fact that black people have always been in an SHTF situation. And because of that, we just automatically know what to do. I could agree with him to a certain extent. Black people have always been on the margins. So because of that, we've had to learn how to survive in a way that many other racial groups have not. However, there's a difference between being on the margins, being victims of white supremacy and white racist actions, and in a societal level situation where it's every man and woman and child for themselves. That's never happened in America. That's happened to other countries. And I can bring up examples of how that's played out. But that's never happened in this country. So yes, black people have been exposed to hardship. We've been through slavery. We've been through Jim Crow. We deal with police brutality and also the high crime rate within black communities. But an SHTF situation is something totally different. And that Americans who are entitled and who believe that they are the best in the world, regardless of skin color, have never experienced. And it's kind of crazy because there was an article published in Zero Hedge like 2 days ago that talked about because of the government shutdown. And for those of you who are not paying attention, the federal government has been shut down for the last week or so because Congress and Trump have been unable to come to an agreement about funding the federal government for the next fiscal year, which is basically the next 12 months. And because of that, the government is shut down. One of the programs that the federal government administers is food stamps. And the article talked about the fact that the food stamp program, if the government doesn't start to operate again within the next 2 to 3 weeks, will no longer have money, and then potentially what could happen out of that. So me being the man that I am, I find that I learn more information, useful information from reading the comments than at the actual article. I read the article, I read the comments, and there was a person who stated that, well, if riots happen, it's not going to be something new because riots have always happened in America. Riots are American as American pie. And they posted a link to a list of all these different riots that have happened throughout America's history. Something told me to click on that link. So I clicked on it, and a lot of those riots, particularly during the 1800s, were race riots in which white people violently attacked blacks and other racial groups. And again, as a black man, in reading about some of these incidents, particularly after the Civil War, during Reconstruction, when black people were trying to organize themselves economically and politically, was a reminder that I, as a black man, really needed to understand. I mean, some of these things were, you read about it in the history books, but to read it as a man who's been able to basically get out of his base level perspective and look at life from a logical fashion and understanding that we live in a matrix was very disturbing, because I'm like, that kind of animalistic behavior And I'm talking about animalistic behavior on the part of whites, with the burning, raping, shooting, castrating, all that other stuff is still latent and will come out in an SHTF situation. And people, you can take whatever I'm saying whichever way you want to, but I'm speaking facts here. That animalistic behavior will come out, and black people are going to bear the brunt of that, as we always have. And because the plain fact of the matter is, when middle class, upper middle class whites start to suffer and they feel threatened economically, they always have to go and blame someone else. This has been proven throughout American history. And I'm telling people, I'm not trying to be alarmist, but 2019 is going to be a year of change, and there's going to be a number of things coming down the line that Americans of all racial groups, all classes, are going to be experiencing that they never thought would happen in this country. And again, if you check the first video that I made, that was part of the reason why I decided to do this blog. Now, guys, I'm going to keep this video short. I think I've made my explanations very clear in terms of why I believe that black people will not fare very well in an SHTF situation. It goes beyond this whole idea we are just going to come together. As I stated before, if we don't have a family structure, you have no community. And if black men and black women can't come together in a two-parent household to raise their own biological kids, I don't know how black people, strangers, are going to magically come together when we're facing an SHTF situation. Now, if you guys disagree with me, leave it in the comments, explain why. I'll engage you. And just remember, every Sunday is when I'll post a new video on the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel. If there's a topic that you guys want me to cover, leave it in the comments and I'll definitely get to it. But as always, like, share, and subscribe. Check in with you guys in a week. Baseman Awakens.